chance to live. But you become a nuisance. I had one dig underneath my deck in my foot. And it can cause. And I don't mind. I love that. We have turkey there. I'll sit there and watch everything around with those and birds. I've seen skunk. We have a skunk visitor, but I won't shoot him because it doesn't bother me. And it's not rabbit. If it's a rabbit, it's getting shot. This thing, this rabbit was out. It's like me and my daughter, and it was slowly pacing. So I'm sitting there watching it, give it a chance, run away. Well, it gets to the tire sling tree and act like it's going to climb up. I said, well, that's fine. We'll do it. As soon as I get me and my daughter out of the car, the thing gets down and starts coming toward us. I'm like, you done. Because that's it. There's only, you're not really supposed to see a raccoon today. Same thing as a fox. If you see it, usually if you see a fox in the day, you're right.
I'm looking forward to looking back around.
Just right upstairs. So.
Well, you know, we closed the hearing, so it's just
But there's enough for I don't know. We had a board meeting tonight. Nothing bad.
We're at 7 o'clock hour.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. This is the May 14th, 2025 meeting of the Rockbridge County Planning Commission. Attendance, Commission Member Sabrizi.
Here.
Commission Member Kramer.
Here.
Commission Member Sandridge.
Here.
Commission Member Whitmore. Commission Member Beebe is here as well. In addition to citizens attending the meeting in person, citizens have several options to view or participate in the Zoom meeting webinar as described below. We will do our best to take citizen comment remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. To join the Rockbridge County Planning Commission Zoom webinar, the link is available on the county website to copy into the address line on your browser. To join by telephone, you may dial into one of the numbers listed on the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Planning Commission YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press the raise hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you are calling in by telephone. This time we will proceed with the meeting. This is a citizen comment portion of the meeting, and we close the meeting on the country club. So country club comments will be held in the general comments section. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir. We at the last meeting, we closed the public hearing. So anyone that would like to make a public comment to address that particular agenda item, this would be the appropriate time.
Okay. Is there anyone physically present to speak?
We have two people signed up for citizen comments. The first is Gretchen Sukow.
Good evening. My name is Consuelo, and I live on Marshall Street, less than about a half mile from the northeast side of the golf course. At the last planning meeting and via email to Mr. Sladen afterwards, I expressed concern about the large amount of chemicals planned to be used during the redesign of the golf course, especially with the killing of the old grass and the replacement of the new grass. During my earlier comments, I explained that these chemicals, specifically glyphosate, fusilate, and likely PFAS chemicals included in these products, are associated with an increased risk of a number of health problems, neurological problems, a number of cancers, and other issues. Since your last meeting, more concerning findings are being reported about these chemicals and the effects they have on human health. Just this past week, the Journal of American Medicine published results identifying a 126% increase in the risk of developing Parkinson's disorder for people living within a mile of a golf course because of the vast amounts of herbicides and other chemicals that are used to keep up these properties. This study further found that golf courses with the largest increase in risk for nearby residents were in water service areas with vulnerable groundwater regions. Much of the golf course is overkarst. If that isn't a vulnerable water region, I don't know what is. I'm standing up here again tonight to ask that as you make this decision about whether to grant the special exception permit for the golf course redesign and under what conditions you would allow this proposal to go forward, that you please prioritize the health of the citizens as much as you would prioritize other interests. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next signed up is Deborah Woodcock.
Hello, I am a golf course neighbor and I live immediately adjacent to the golf course. I was here last week, but I have some new information. Last week, I brought my basket of balls that were retrieved from our properties off the golf course, and I have a few extra ones that had showed up in the meantime. So we were concerned about the closeness of the greens to our property lines. And I could see they were very close, but it was hard for me to get specific guidelines on really what is too close. We now have an independent assessment of the golf course design, and that person is an expert in the field and says that 150 to 175 feet is a safe distance. Our properties are much closer to the greens than that. And the new design moves the greens closer to our property lines. One of my neighbors this afternoon told me that last week she had a golf ball bounce off her kitchen window. And this is really a concern. I think another point that our expert reviewer made was that the course itself, apart from the property, the adjacent property owners, the course itself is not a very safe course. It's a relatively small footprint, and they're trying to expand it, expand the greens because they need to meet certain standards. But that puts it in, they're shoehorning it into a relatively small area, and there just isn't a lot of room, and it's a very tight design. So I think that I'm not a golfer. I'm not going to be out on the golf course, but I think that that this is a concern that that should be looked at. And as a property owner, I'm very concerned about the stray balls. When they go to NCAA level play, they're going to be hitting those balls even harder. I mean, and we're going to even have more problems. So I very much hope that that the planning commission won't just go ahead and sign up on the zoning requests without considering this safety issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone
That
else?
is everyone that signed up at this time, but we'll recognize anyone in the public who would like to speak now. While let me check online. If anyone is online that'd like to make a comment during the citizen comment period, please utilize the raise your hand button now. Not seeing. We'll again recognize anyone else like to speak. Not seeing any. Turn
This that concludes the citizen comment period. All right, gentlemen, have you all looked at the minutes? Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. All right, board reports, Chris.
Yes, from the Board of Supervisors meeting, they approved the Ioka Dog Kennel Special Exception Permit and the USS Hilltop Solar. Both of those were modifications to existing conditions associated with those permits. They approved those as recommended. As far as the last public hearing we had associated with April 14th, it was associated with BARC special exception permit, and they approved that permit without minus, I should say, the proposed buildings, and then they put a period of validity associated with the laid out yard for 2 years. Moving on.
Yes.
On the May 2nd, 2025, this past Monday, they approved the Dominion Power Special Exception Permits. That's, of course, was phase 2 of the Balcony Falls to Buena Vista proposed upgrades to the existing transmission line that consist of 6.77 miles as a public utility in the A1, A2, and A1, A2, and R1 zoning district. That was the first of 2 public hearings. They approved that as recommended by the Planning Commission. And the second public hearing associated with that project was the use of public utilities, public facilities, if you will, public utilities in the floodway. And they recommended, or excuse me, they approved that as per recommendation of the Board of Supervisors. The TCO held a meeting on May 7th, 2025. The site plans that were approved associated with that meeting was the crossing car wash located at 1265 North Lee Highway. And that is adding a second bay, automatic bay, car wash bay to the, that would be the northern side of the property. They also approved the plans for the Cars Creek General Store and associated restaurant at the with Mr. Hart on his farm on the corner of West Midland Trail and West Midland Trail and Fredericksburg Road. Excuse me. There was no BZA meeting held in May. The Community Development Committee did hold a meeting on April 25th, 2025. Essentially, we discussed past and upcoming board meetings and upcoming tonight's planning commission. The next meeting of the Community Development Committee will be held on Monday, May 19th, 2025. And those are held in this room here at 12:15, I should say.
Thank you, Chris. At this time, we were going to do item number 5, which is the Lexington Golf and Country Club Washington Lee Joint Venture LLC. And I am recused from this as a member. John, am I supposed to read this thing? Yep. I abstain from all matters, discussions, or voting related to the special exception for the proposed expansion / improvements to the Lexington Golf and Country Club and any continuance or review or consideration in subsequent meetings, as my disclosure statement required under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3115F is on file with the Secretary of the Planning Commission. We'll turn it over to David Whitmore as co-chair. Vice chair, excuse me.
All right. Tonight is the continued discussion on LGCC/WNL Joint Venture LLC. Of course, a special exception permit application. Again, joint LGCC/WNL Joint Venture LLC, 141 Country Club Road, Lexington, Virginia, has made a special exception application for the proposed improvements / expansion to the existing Lexington Golf and Country Club. The property consists of 6 tax parcels within the county, totaling 131.894 acres per tax records. A portion of the existing country club that is located in the county is in the general residential zoning district. A portion of the existing golf course, approximately 21.72 acres per city records, is located in the city of Lexington. Of course, our actions this evening only pertain to the 131 acres located in Rockbridge County. Due to the fact that Lexington Golf and Country Club predates zoning in Rockbridge County, the use is considered a legal non-conforming use in the residential zoning district. I thought it'd be beneficial to have a brief review of the process to date. Essentially started in October of 2020. At that time, it was the plans only included a redesign of the golf course itself, but it since then have included the vertical structures as well. And that was done. The zoning text amendment was done for the proposed expansion or the anticipated expansion. The zoning text amendment defined country clubs and provided the use by special exception in the residential R1 district. As far as the March meeting of the Planning Commission in 2005, Due to the scope of the proposed improvements, the applicant and staff felt that it'd be beneficial to have a preliminary discussion with the Planning Commission prior to the special exception application being placed on the Planning Commission agenda. The preliminary discussion was held at the March 12th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. The Planning Commission held its public hearing on April 9th, 2025. Upon a motion and vote by the Planning Commission set the matter over to its tonight's May 14th, 2025 meeting. During the public hearing, concerns expressed included the traffic along Country Club Road, structural capacity of Ruffner Place Bridge that's located in the city of Lexington, increased noise pollution associated with events at the clubs, water and sewer contamination, possible water and sewer contamination associated with the use of herbicides and fertilizer, decreased distances from the proposed golf course to neighboring property, and the lack of notice given to some areas, some area residences. Here. A little bit of follow up since the April Planning Commission meeting on May 8th, 2025. As a zoning administrator, I made the formal determination that the non-conforming use of a special event venue at the LGCC is neither allowed nor permitted as part of the special exception for the country club as currently defined. Therefore, separate actions will be required to be taken in order for the property to be utilized for special events. These actions could include or would include zoning text amendment or amendments to provide the use of a special exception in the special use of a special event venue in the residential district, or to amend the current definition of a country club to include the special events. The decision would not prevent the country club from hosting events for members of the country club. Examples of these uses given in the agenda item included in tonight's application included member appreciation nights, pool parties for members and members' guests. Additional examples of the uses included with the draft condition associated with tonight's Planning Commission meeting that could be utilized with the recommendation of approval of the special exception application include receptions associated with member and or member guest tournaments. And to be clear, those would be the receptions associated with those events. As the zoning administrator, a zoning administrator's determination could be appealed to the Board of Zoning Appeals, BZA, within 30 days in accordance with section 15.2-2311 of the Code of Virginia and section 808 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulations. The decision shall be final and unappealable if not appealed within 30 days. I thought it'd be beneficial to sort of give a brief overview of special exceptions and the Planning Commission's role of special exceptions. The Planning Commission has an advisory role with special exception process, meaning that they would be making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. Per 803.02-3 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulation, the application shall be sent to the Commission for review and recommendation, and the said Commission shall have 60 days in which to submit a report. If the Commission fails to submit a report within 60-day period, it shall be deemed to have approved and the proposed deemed to be approved the special exception permit. As far as the Board of Supervisors, per 802.03-4 of the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulations, the governing body, which of course is the Board of Supervisors, shall consider the proposed special exception after notice and public hearing in accordance with 15.2-22 of the Code of Virginia, and shall take action on the proposed special exception within 30 days from the date of the public hearing, and that's the date of the close of public hearing. In zoning districts, in all zoning district, whether it be agricultural, residential, or industrial, the regulations identified uses that are allowed by a matter of right. Those are commonly referred to as permitted uses, and uses that are allowed by special exceptions. Uses allowed by special use permit, special exception permit, are those considered to have a potential higher impact on the neighboring properties. while permitted uses are a regulatory process, example, obviously in a residential zoning district, single family dwelling would be a permitted use. The regulatory process would be either having a well drain field permit, certain building code requirements, zoning setbacks, that type of thing, zoning process. Special use permits are legislative in nature. Impacts from special uses permits are attempted to be addressed through conditions. Under Virginia law, the conditions imposed must bear a reasonable relationship to the legitimate land use concerns and problems generated by the use of the property. The Planning Commission has the ability to recommend denial of the special exception permit or recommend approval with or without conditions. Would it be beneficial prior to opening up the public hearing or prior to board discussion, Planning Commission discussion, to review the draft conditions that could be utilized?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
As far as the draft conditions, the Planning Commission has a advisory role in the process. The draft conditions that could be utilized with the recommendation of approval of the special application include number one, substantial compliance with the schematic plans prepared by Perkins and Orison titled LGCC/WNL Joint Venture LCC DBA Lexington Golf and Country Club dated March 24th, 2025, and the revision date of April 30th, 2025, with the allowance of pickleball courts and or tennis courts in the area shown currently as pickleball courts. We have some blanks throughout the draft conditions that the Planning Commission, with a recommendation of approval, will need to hatch out, if you will. Number two, hours of operation for the pickleball court and or tennis courts, outdoor swimming pool and playground area shall be limited to blank AM to blank PM. Number three, compliance with section 1303 general lighting requirements and 1303.04 general design requirements and section 1303.05 parking lot lighting of the County of Rockbridge land development regulations. And the reason we put those the regulations and lighting ordinance in there is not expressly clear in the lighting ordinance that it states that signs and towers in residential districts shall adhere to it. And so we just like to put those in there for further clarification, if you will. Number four, no parking within the Virginia Department of Transportation VDOT rights of ways. You may recall last month we had a couple of those streets identified. I started working on those streets today, and the list just got longer and longer. So I just thought it'd be appropriate just to put a blanketed statement saying that no parking within the Virginia Department of Transportation rights of ways. Number five, the storage of all chemicals associated with the maintenance of the golf course shall be within the proposed maintenance facility and shall be designed in a manner that prevents any spillage of chemicals from exiting the storage area. Number six, at minimum, fencing associated with the eastern, western, and southern sides of the pickleball court, and I added in there discussion on adding and or tennis courts in there, shall have a acoustic panel system that is weather resistant and reduces noise by 20 decibels. The design and materials of the panel system shall be shown on the site plan. The panel system shall be maintained in good condition. Number seven or eight are lengthy, so bear with me here. Pertain to some of the environmental concerns that we've heard throughout the process and some that we heard this evening. Pre and post sediment testing of streams, pre and post water testing for glyphosate compliant with EPA method 547, PFAS compliant with EPA method 1633, heavy metals, which would include cadmium, chromium, lead, and mercury, nitrate and nitride compliant with EPA method 353 shall be performed. Samples shall be performed in Pond A and Point 1 on the map titled Water and Sediment Testing of Streams dated May 12, 2025. Water samples shall be taken from the water column. Sediment testing shall be taken from the top 1 or 2 inches of the bed of Pond A and Point 1. And as we get further in the discussion, I certainly can pull up the map that is referenced here to further clarify where these points are. The testing shall be performed prior to the first application of glyphosate associated with initial killing of grass on the court of the golf course. The post-testing shall be taking place between 3 and 7 days after each application of glyphosate associated with the killing of grass. After the reconstruction of the golf course, annual testing shall be performed at least once annually during the months of June, July, or August. The water and sediment testing shall be provided to the Office of Community Development within 30 days after results are provided to the landowner. Number 8 is very common or very similar. Thank you, Vivica. Very similar to draft condition number 7, but pertains to the testing of wells. Pre and post water testing of wells. Water testing for wells for glyphosate compliant with EPA method 547, PFAS compliant with EPA method 1633, heavy metals, again, those would be cadmium, chromium, lead, and mercury, and then nitrate and nitride compliant with EPA method 353.2 shall be performed. Samples shall be taken on all wells of the property owned by LGCC/WNL joint venture that are located in the county of Rockbridge. Additionally, water testing off-site wells used as potable water sources on landowners' property, the boundary of which the property is located 1,000 feet of the property lines owned by LGCC/WNL joint venture LLC shall be performed for all landowners within the designated area who have notified the Office of Community Development in writing 30 days of the date of approval of the special exception permit and who grant a right of entry to the property for the purposes of pre and post water testing of well. The applicant shall be required to send notification via certified mail to all applicable landowners based on public records as determined by the Office of Community Development in said area, informing them of the opportunity to have the pre and post water testing of their wells. Number 9, implementation. These include, the next 2 include some blanks. Implementation of the project must occur within X months from the date of the special exception permit, and project substantial compliance must occur within X months of the date of an implementation with up to a blank month extension of the substantial completion upon a written request by the applicant and landowners to the zoning administrator detailing the reasons for the extension. The reason why we commonly have that on there for larger projects that take longer to implement is per the County of Rockbridge Land Development Regulation. It states that the special exception must be put into effect, quote, put into effect within 6 months of the date of the special exception unless otherwise specified in the conditions themselves. Number 10, allowed outdoor events such as member appreciation nights and or receptions associated with member or member guest tournaments shall be concluded by blank PM. Number 11, the applicant shall operate the country club as a member organization which is formed for recreational purposes and shall provide documentation sustaining such to the zoning administrator prior to the completion of the renovation of the golf course and clubhouse. And we identify the golf course and clubhouse because those are the 2 features that are required to be part of the country club. We of course have some accessory uses in the definition, or other uses I should say, that are associated with the definition. The final condition that has been drafted by staff is approval contingent upon the Virginia Department of Transportation, Erosion, Sediment, Stormwater Management, Building Department, and all other state and federal regulations. Other conditions could be utilized with a recommendation of approval. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Russ Orson with Perkins and Orson to review additional details, particular details of what has been the amended site plan since the last meeting. Thank you. I can pull that up.
Yeah, pull it up or they can play along. So the
plans, especially 1 and 2 plans that amended since last time I saw you. And so the sheets 1 and 2 have been amended since the last time I saw you. And what we've done is we added and clarified the buffers. You can see that we added buffers up around the pickleball courts on both sides of what is now the driving range. And we added and clarified some buffers in some other locations. They're generally the same, but we added the ones there at the driving range. We added landscaping. So if you look on your sheet number 1, we added landscaping at the end of hole number 15. That is where we moved the green closer to the property line. And we are now proposing a 10 plants, and we haven't decided on the plant yet, but along that property line to help soften that the aesthetics for that home at the end there. The Nellie Stevens hollies has been mentioned, crepe myrtle, something like that. We added a note about the court lighting so that certainly so that it would be perpetuated that the lighting ordinance applies, and that the illumination is limited in height at the court lighting. We also this was
Where's
kind
that
of a
note? Oh,
what's that?
where was that? You said there's a note?
Yeah, it's on sheet 2 of 4, and it's within the area of the existing driving range proposed pickleball. You can see the note right there. Yeah. And then as we get more into design and less and more away from schematic design, I started looking at site distance for the entrance that the architects had done, and we actually didn't have enough site distance at the location. So if you look at sheet 2 of 4, our actual entrance is moved to the left because to get the adequate site distance based on the speed limit of the road and the site distance there. So it's not a huge change, but the entrance moved to the plan left in that location just to comply with VDOT site distance requirements. So those are the changes to the plans since you last saw them. The conditions that Chris went over, as he explained, a special exception is conditions from the county to us. It's not a rezoning, so it's not proffers that we voluntarily make to convince you to vote for it. It's conditions that you place on it. And so I haven't had a lot of time to study these specific conditions, but number 1, substantial compliance. I think that's important. Of course, we're going to do that. Number 2, hours of operation for pickleball courts and our tennis courts. I don't know that we strongly have an opinion about that, but I imagine that people want to play at 8 a.m. and I imagine that it can go till 9 p.m. It's up to you, but I imagine that that would be a reasonable number. Compliance with the lighting requirements, of course. No parking within VDOT right away, of course. The storage of all chemicals safely, of course. So we're building a new facility, and one of the bays of our new facility is the chemical storage bay, and it actually has a sump in the storage bay that does not daylight to anywhere. It doesn't go to sanitary, doesn't go to storm. It is there to trap anything that might spill. So of course we will do that. At minimum, the fencing associated with the eastern, western, and southern sides of the pickleball court shall have an acoustic panel system that is weather resistant, reduces noise by 20 decibels. 20 decibels. I don't know where that came from. I've looked at a lot of different systems. We would prefer not to put up a system. It has a significant expense to it. If it's required, and if this body and the board believes that it's important for the approval of our special exception, then that is your right and responsibility. I have no idea where 20 decibels came from. I don't know what systems might accomplish that. All the systems that I've looked at are quite expensive. We already have pickleball that's being played currently, and tennis, of course, that's being played currently. Pre and post testing of streams. We have nothing to hide. We want testing. We will do testing. I have no idea. These conditions are, Chris, you can help me. What are they? They're reasonably associated with our use, or something. Is that the sentence? So cadmium is testing cadmium reasonably associated with our use. This is not a proffer. This is a condition by you guys. So you guys are saying that yes, this testing is reasonably associated with this use. Cerium. I don't know what cerium is. I don't know that it's reasonably associated with a golf course. But again, these are conditions that the county says are associated with a golf course. Lead, mercury, again, don't think so, but don't know. And then the standards that we're supposed to test to, I did not have time to look up the standards. I don't know if they're the appropriate standards. I don't know if they're the appropriate methodologies for something like this, if they are tremendously expensive or tremendously hard to get and only 1 or 2 labs or something provides that service. I do not know, and I could not know in the time allotted. So if you are saying that they are necessary for this use, that's what you are saying. I don't know. Number 8, testing of wells. I foresee potential issues with testing other people's property and stuff like that. But certainly if that's a condition, we understand that that could be important. And if that's a condition, then we'll quite obviously we will comply with it. And I think some of the language that Chris puts in here as far as how people sign up, I think it's appropriate. So I can foresee it being problematic, but of course it's important. So we would of course comply with that. Number 9, the schedule. Really, whatever you guys think is decent to put in there. We are on a tight schedule and a known schedule and a schedule we're going to meet. So I understand that you guys have had to extend solar farms and different things, and so I understand why it's in there. But anything that you guys think is reasonable will be fine with us because we are on a schedule. Allowed outdoor events. He left a blank there for what time they close down. People like me go to bed early. I don't think everybody goes to bed early. If it was 11 o'clock, that seemed reasonable because I've seen a lot of the special exceptions that have been done for event venues. If it was earlier than that, I don't think it would hurt a ton, but it seems like 11 is a reasonable time to tell everybody to go home. Membership organization, we're on number 11. That makes perfect sense. Approval contingent, number 12 on VDOT and all of those things. That of course is true, and we'll of course comply with that. The special events thing, I think the path forward that Chris has explained with a text amendment to the ordinance to allow special events is the correct path forward. And so we'll be back to see you guys for a text amendment, hopefully very soon. And I assume the county will be initiating that text amendment. And if not, they need to notify me, so I'll initiate it. But that's the best way forward. I don't know why special events are not included in a country club. Country clubs have special events. That's what they do. They have golf, they have everything, but that's what most country clubs do. So it's unfortunate that it's not in the current definition, but I agree that the path forward is a text amendment, and we will avail ourselves of that opportunity absolutely as fast as we can. But we'd like to go ahead with the special exception because that allows us to meet our schedule with the golf course and whatnot, even though we'll be coming back to you hopefully next month for the text amendment. If you have any questions about what I've described or the maps that we've done.
Yeah, I'll go backwards. Number 10, it seems to exclude if W&L or the country club wants to bid on a regional tournament, either with other country clubs or with the NCAA or whatever, because it's member guest tournaments or member. It doesn't include, outside entities. Like literally, it really doesn't include W&L students.
Right. I think it does. I see what you're saying about the verbiage, and I think you're right about the verbiage, but I think Chris's intent there was that that the definition of country club as we have in our ordinance includes member stuff.
Right.
It includes stuff that you would do at a country
I
club.
understand that. I mean,
and so a golf tournament might be included in that. We would ask Chris, but it's a good point. But I would think that would be included in the normal stuff of a golf course, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a good point. We will need to get clarified for that because we won't want to have a NCAA tournament and fall because it's not a member and it's not a special event, perhaps. So that's a good point. Thank you.
But we should be able to solve that problem with the zoning text amendment. If even to that, I mean, right now.
Yeah, that's my next. Yeah.
I mean, you won't be running tournaments for the next 2 years.
We will not.
Yeah. Russ, do you mind if I step in just to put a little
Please.
clarification? That act number 10 actually applies to receptions, not to the actual tournaments. Tournaments would be allowed. There wouldn't be required special exception. That's receptions held in conjunction with the tournaments, to clarify that type of event would not require the, we wouldn't have to wait for a zoning text amendment to allow that type of event to take place.
Good.
So we felt that fell within the definition.
Just a point in fact for the neighbors, W&L students are taking water samples of the Rockbridge County wells. And boy, if I was next door to you guys, I'd have my well tested because that's going to be free.
I sent that out to the groups that had attended our meeting at the club to include the ecologically minded groups. And I actually Xeroxed, that's not a word anymore, but I scanned that advertisement and I sent it to them and said that would be a wonderful opportunity for a lot of us to get our wells tested. I probably will do it
If I was
myself.
on a well in Rockbridge County, I'd certainly have my well tested.
We look forward to it. Now, those tests may well not fall within the test as outlined in these draft conditions. I have no idea whether those tests would fall within EPA 700.2 and 7. They might fall outside of it. So then we'd still have to do it again, but that would be a great opportunity. Yeah.
Right. Better safe than sorry.
That's right.
And then one other thing, very sensitive about number 3. We have a lot of night lighting, and you drive around and you can see the halo. I mean, I live in a place that has all night lighting, and you go to Confederate Circle and look up, and it's a halo. I mean, unless the moon is not out, you never see all the stars. Never. I mean,
Right.
It's hard to see the Big Dipper there. And, I think a little bit of a glow is over the country club now. I haven't seen it on a night when the moon hadn't been out there, but I think that's something to consider, how the lighting is done, because some of those places that I've been around the golf course, you got a pretty good view of the sky there. And I certainly wouldn't want to have a glow coming in on half that.
Right.
And the last thing is, I would go for vegetative fencing around the pickleball court. And my views on the pickleboard are I can be sarcastic about it, but it's a good sport and healthy and everything.
So there's currently a lot of vegetation along the right side as you look up the practice range.
Yeah.
And what we're proposing is completely separate from that, another complete staggered row of large evergreens.
Yeah.
And the same thing on the left. We're hopeful that that will do a good job of attenuating some of the sound.
And by the way, behind that one green, a lot of golf courses that have that problem, they put up netting. And you can get netting that you can't even see, and that's not too good if you have deer running around. But you might consider that as opposed to put crepe myrtles up. It takes a while for them to get over.
It's behind the green, and I don't foresee, like people to the right of 18, people are driving, and if they slice it off, then it goes off of the course, and certainly that's a concern of any golf course. At 15, there's some horrible golfers, and I'm one of them, but to be able to hit over the green, an approach shot over the green, the distance that would be required, it's not like a tee shot or anything like that. You're actually trying to strike the green. So I hear what you're saying, but it's quite a distance to overshoot a green with your approach shot to actually go off the course there. It's a long way.
Unless you mishit it.
Exactly. You're right. You're right.
Rather than hit it up, you go.
You're right.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay. I'm good.
The question on number 2 in terms of establishing the time frame, and you're right. I mean, I think tennis players too, in summer, middle of the summer, people are going to want to play early, and they want to play late. The middle of the day is going to be not the best time in August or end of July. But I thought on one of the previous things there was a note about lights possible.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean,
yes, we're holding out the possibility of lights, and that's why I put the lighting note on the pickleball courts that it has to comply with county lighting.
Right, but I mean, would that apply to, say, court lighting?
Yes, that's why I put it on there.
Do you think the lights on the courts now probably meet that standard?
I do not know the answer to that.
I don't know anything about the standard. That's why I'm
right
bringing that up. And
mostly I put it on there, frankly, Tony, just to keep in the documents the maximum height of those, because if we hand this off to Musco and say, hey, like these pickleball courts, they'll come up with this fantastic lighting system that may not comply. So I got it on here at Chris's urging. But lighting, we're not going to do lighting right away. And if we do lighting ever, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think, depending upon the time frame, lighting may not be practical.
Right. If you're not starting till 8 and you're quitting at 9, and given the weather when it's light till 7 or 8.
I mean, I guess it's eventually could do. I mean, right now, I think people have used the tennis courts much later than those hours. So it's something to think about in terms of putting the time frame on there.
Well, you're putting the time frame on there.
No, I know. This is for my colleagues here in terms of what's the best, whether it's whether it's 9, 10, 11, or is it 8? I mean, it's
right.
And in the mornings too. Again, I think lights don't help. Don't help in the mornings, but something to think about when we fill those blanks in.
Got a question, Russ. You may or may not know the answer, but in terms of errant golf balls and potentially damaging neighbors' property, does the course have a liability policy or required to? How does that work?
I've always been told that the actual person that hits the golf ball is responsible for their golf ball, whatever it does. And same thing as if you hit a golf ball at your house and you hit something. Whether that's how it works in real life, I don't know the answer to that. But I think it's true that if you hit a golf ball and hurt somebody or hurt their house or something, if you do it at your farm or I do it at my house and hit my neighbor, it's the same thing.
It's like that in other courses, like in Roanoke. Because what was it, Hanging Rock, or which one's right next to the road? And I've seen cars literally come off the interstate. And yeah, I've seen them get hit. So
Really?
Yeah.
So do you think the courses have a?
Courses,
what,
no,
umbrella
courses don't
policy?
have liability. It actually, some of the signage says if you hit a house, especially at the beach, if you hit a house, you're personally liable.
If you're honest and.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, hopefully if you drive it, well, yeah.
Just curious. Okay.
18, I think those houses must get hit. They surely must because of the way some of us drive a golf ball, but there's almost no other place where houses are in the range of normal golf.
I mean, you go to Virginia Beach, houses right up on the course.
Right. Right. And the course was there, of course, a long time before 99% of the houses. And it's a great amenity and a great thing to live beside a golf course. And of course, so people have moved out there. And when the course is nicer, those people will be beside a much nicer course. It'll be great for them.
18 doesn't really change a whole lot, right?
18,
Yeah.
not a lot. I think it moves down in elevation and down a little closer to the pond, but not a lot. The flavor of the hole remains the same. Just that last shot is not as grossly uphill.
You have any other questions? Okay, thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
Before we do our internal discussion, I would like to recognize that the commission did receive written comments, I guess, since the last meeting from Mr. Bob Biersack, Miss Deborah Woodcock, Miss Gretchen Suko, and Mr. Joe DiNardo. I think we've all seen those.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at this time, the commission will hold a discussion about the application and I guess most importantly, the conditions. Do you have any
Ernie?
thoughts?
We could start with the operation. I mean, we could.
All right.
What do you think?
Go down the list.
I mean, we got blanks to fill in there, so
Exactly.
let's see how good we are at the first one. I'm not proposing. I want someone else.
But you play pickleball, I don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
I gotta think in the summertime, you're gonna have light till 9.
and during daylight savings with them having no lights, it would go away. But I mean, I think it's reasonable, 8 to 9,
It's
unless you feel that you need to do 9 to 9. If 8's a little too early, but you know you got some sound.
I'd say
The
currently,
pool definitely would not be open at that early, so.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some people that get out at
I'm
7.
okay with either one. I mean,
Beat the heat, summer heat. I'm sure some people get out earlier than.
Oh yeah, I
than
mean,
8, so
tee off early, but I mean pickleball.
so the
I'm going with whatever you're saying on that.
8, let's do 8 to 9.
Okay.
Let's put that in.
All right, on number 6, one references tennis and or pickleball courts. So I think we should probably put tennis in number 6 as well.
Yes, I would think we should include that.
Yeah.
I do have, and Chris, maybe you can help, because I know we exchanged, you had asked me some information and we talked about acoustic paneling. I have problems with the 20 decibels because I don't know what kind of improvement that makes. And how do you test it? How do you verify it? Was it from an average of, it was like 5 or 6 types of ways you can do it. There's blankets and.
Yes,
panels.
based on some information that you provided via email and some research staff has done, it definitely ranges from the lowest I think I found was 30. I'm sorry, the lowest was 12, and the highest was 32 on these particular acoustic fencings. And so the rationale was to meet somewhere in the middle. Let's put it that way.
How would it change things to just strike the decibel things, that at least an attempt to use some of the standard stuff in there? Now, the fear is that we go cheap on this rather than effective. If we didn't have a 20 decibel requirement, just reduces noise.
That obviously could be in my opinion, to just say reduce noise, it could be a bed sheet. That.
Well, but just
reduces
an
some
acoustic
noise.
panel, that bed sheet is not an acoustic panel to me.
I would have to,
That's
I could,
has to have some acoustic properties to it.
the lowest one that I found was 12. Again, the highest one I found was 32 as a acoustic panel system, I should say. And some of them are known as fabric panels. Fabric panels are usually lower on the lower end. Acoustic blankets is another one. Flexible vinyl sheets is another one. Flexible vinyl sheets is actually 20 to 25. The largest one, if I recall correctly, that I was able to find was 32.
So what height are these panels you're talking about?
They would go on the, what do we say, the eastern, western, and southern side. And I would anticipate that's of course everything but towards New Cameron as currently drafted. And I would say that's a good point. It currently says the fencing associated with it, so it'd be the full length of the fence. However high that fence is.
Well, that's what I'm asking. How high is it going to be?
I'm uncertain on what the proposed fence of height, but to answer your question directly, it would be the height of the proposed fencing.
So that's preferred to foliage.
I'm not saying it's preferred to foliage. With my concern as staff, if you will, is what does a double row of Leland cypresses do, and the immediate need and the long-term need for reducing sound. It certainly has some buffering as far as view shed, after it's established. But as far as the noise reduction properties of a double row of Leland cypresses, in my opinion, it would be somewhat nominal.
The difference, or I'm sorry,
It's somewhat nominal. And so what's being proposed, obviously, what's being proposed tonight is a double row Leland cypresses. What's proposed in the draft conditions is the double row Leland cypresses or arborvitaes, which
Right.
we're all very familiar with, and
Right.
the growth rates of those, as far as to establish maturity, and then the fence as well, and then the acoustic barrier, I should say.
I see what you're saying. If it's a 4-foot tall fence, which it wouldn't be, that's not going to do anything to.
right,
noise
especially when
reduction.
you have people yelling.
Yeah. Well, what is a standard height around a pickleball court?
I think
Be the same
I
as
think
a
they're 10
tennis
feet,
court, right?
Yeah, they're 10 feet.
Like, you know how tennis courts are usually, I mean, I would say a standard fence like on a baseball field, then you double it, and that would be a tennis or pickleball, if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well,
Just, the commission might want to consider that maybe part of the reason for having the 20 decibels put in there or some number put in there is that the height of the fence doesn't matter, the effectiveness of it matters. So that's, so there could be many ways to approach this, but that would be one way to approach it.
Well, why don't we leave it as is and then just add the tennis court piece in there?
I don't know if a triple layer of planting would do the same thing or not.
Well, the things that have happened in the past that I've seen other places is that a pickleball court gets put near houses and with no buffer, and then it creates complaints. And then next thing you know, there's all kinds of suggestions. And then this 8 to 9 becomes they only can play on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Stuff like that. And I think we should kind of push an attempt to lower that as much as we can. And I think there's not enough the distance would be the best solution, but that area, although my visit the other day, it's a lot wider than I imagined it from the drawing. So I think within this, as they put together the actual site plan, I think there may be some flexibility there in terms of improving that. I would hope that the country club would, would want to avoid complaints if they
Yeah.
could.
So to back up a little bit, it's somewhat standard for an 8 to 10 foot fence associated with tennis courts. With that being said, as far as the comment of complaints after the fact and then reducing these hours, we as the county of Rockbridge
No, I'm
would
saying
not
that
have the
they, yeah,
ability to do so.
no, they would, but I'm saying that would be eventually something that they'd have to deal with. But
Yeah, and
I'd like to
they
cut the
would-
noise down before they.
If approved, I should say, they would have the opportunity to amend the conditions through the same process we're going through now, but we, as Rockbridge County, would not have the possibility of amending the conditions.
I would say let's leave it the way it is. at this point.
Fine with that. You all right?
I'm good.
Is that, we're still chatting about number
Number
six? Number six.
We're adding tennis.
And or tennis courts.
Would you like to say at minimum an 8 foot fence? Include the language of it at minimum an 8 foot fence? Knowing that the industry standard is 8 to 10 feet?
Fencing, okay, how do you, the fencing associated with the eastern, western, southern sides shall be a minimum of 8 feet tall. And then the acoustic panel system follows.
There's a noise that's coming from the paddle and hitting the
Yeah.
ball.
And the ball.
Nobody's gonna be hitting it at 10 feet and, the sound's gonna be over the fence and the straight line, there are no homes. That would go in that direction.
So the way I currently have that, it might be, I think it's the intent's the same, and at minimum, an 8 foot fence associated with the eastern, western, and southern side of the pickleball and or tennis courts shall have an acoustic panel system that is weather resistant, et cetera, et cetera.
It's fine. All right. Okay, the water testing piece. I'm fine with the water, the stream testing and the well testing, and just, I know Mr. Warson had a question about the cadmium, cerium, and lead, where that came from.
Some of those are associated with the fungicides used. With that being said, some have been restricted due to environmental concerns. Some of those we actually started with and this was a little bit late because of all the different moving parts. I apologize on getting it to Mr. Orson and the Planning Commission at the time frame we did. We originally had an EPA compliant with an EPA method that listed I think it's 22 heavy metals. And so with further research, we narrowed it down to ones associated with fungicides or essentially fungicides, or obviously we all know what glyphosate does and the purpose of glyphosate. The heavy metals we refer to as the nitrate and nitride are associated with fertilizer. And so that's how we developed the list.
So what's the active ingredient in Roundup?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, sir.
Want to make sure everybody understands that.
But these, so you're saying, and again, I don't think any one of us here are experts on this, and I think Mr. Orson had some valid comments in terms of, so some of the fungicides could have these heavy metals in it, and they're approved to be used that way?
Based on research, and in some cases brief research, that yes, some fungicides have those properties in it, or those chemicals, those heavy metals, I should say. Additionally, some have been restricted and maybe even prohibited associated with environmental concerns. So that's something staff is certainly would like to do additional research. Unfortunately, with the time frame that we had, that additional research would be done after the Planning Commission's recommendation. Of course, the Board of Supervisors as you know, as reported earlier, the planning commission has an advisory role to the board of supervisors. The board of supervisors certainly has the ability to amend the conditions, add to them, take them away, that type of thing. And in, I will say, rare cases, there are some staff recommendations that go along with the planning commission's recommendation. In this case, it would be after further research. Russ, if you could come up, speak with Mike, because that's just for the Zoom people who can't hear you.
If those are normal tests, I don't know that those are normal tests. I don't know that you have to send it to a special lab somewhere to get those done. If those are normal tests by normal labs, we have no problem with that. I was being a little thin-skinned at that point, but if they're normal, we're happy to do that. So I don't necessarily want you to spend a lot of time just because I want you to know that cerium is in our golf course or something.
Well, I was looking in terms of the renovation being, you know, what are the sources that possibly concern? Obviously, everybody here knows about Roundup, and despite the fact is that it's a suspected carcinogen, not a known carcinogen, but it's used fairly commonly. But it's something we know you're going to do, and that's part of the renovation that's going to be there. So yes, I think that's something that's very valid. Test it before, test it after. That way, you know, that it kind of puts it on you all to make sure you're following the directions exactly. You're not sitting there going, well, you know, the gusts at 15 miles an hour. It only says 10, but you know, it's just gusts. You know, I don't want, you know, to have to make it.
Right.
You've got to be very careful.
Right.
The other ones,
and you got to meet Peter on site. You didn't get to talk to him technically, but he is technically proficient, educated, and top shelf. And that's his job, is to make sure that he follows all those things. But what you're bringing up is true, that the glyphosate killing the golf course, arguably, we wouldn't be doing that if we were just an ongoing concern. But fungicides, fertilizers, all this, we're a golf course. We're an ongoing golf course. That has nothing to do with the special exception.
and
We are maintaining a golf course. We will maintain a golf course next year like we maintained it last year. So the special exception doesn't
you have
affect
regulations that
fungicides and
there's regulations
we do that.
and-
Whatever it is we do, which I don't know what it is, we do that.
I mean, and the unique part about this too, when glyphosate being used elsewhere in the county is valid, but I mean, this is a case where you're completely surrounded by homes, and your stream runs out into Lexington and Woods Creek into
That's right.
W&L property
You're right.
as well. So, I mean, I think that's a valid concern as far as the stream goes.
Yep.
I don't want to. We could find a lot more tests for you to do too if you.
I know.
And so I'm worried about going too far.
Right.
Or not going enough.
But if they're normal, I appreciate that. And I'm the one that brought it up, so it's my fault. But if it's a normal test that normal labs do, we're happy to do it. And so I don't want you guys to get caught up on.
Well, if you do a qualitative test, and heavy metals show up, it's not necessarily going to tell you how much of each one. But if you got heavy metals in this stuff, somebody's got to do something. I mean, that's all. You know, you can't have heavy metal stuff going into Woods Creek. I don't, at least my opinion is.
Well, the condition, the method by which you determine those is a certain spectrometer that we have to use to a certain standard.
Right.
I don't know what that is, but I did Google it, and AI said that W&L has one of those. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll be able
No,
to
that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
And not to interrupt further, but I did mention this during the comments, that it'd be beneficial to review the map A, the pond A and point one as referenced in the conditions. So the pond A is located here, and then I'm gonna zoom down on point one, and this is an unusual property as far as it takes not only watershed within the existing watershed, but there is an influence, if you will, from the Morse Creek Reservoir, and I believe that portion comes in here. And so what and there's of course another stream that comes in here that starts off, actually shows it starting here, but it might very well be a little bit further. So how we determined these was Pond A here, and that is where the irrigation comes from.
Yeah.
And then the point one is somewhat isolated, if you will, has influence on Woods Creek, of course, but then the intent of point one would be the outfall, still on the country club property, but the outfall of this particular pond. So those were why those 2 points, Pond A and point one, were recommended, if you will.
As far as 7 goes, the other thing that, in addition, you got post-testing shall take place 3 to 7 days after the application. And then after, annual testing shall be performed at least once annually during the months June, July, August. I mean, that's forever.
That is annual testing, June, July, or August, I should say. But as currently drafted, that is in perpetuity.
Is that's not something standard golf courses have to do now, do they?
I'm uncertain on what other zoning requirements are associated with other zoning approvals associated with, not completely familiar, I should say, with what other standards other localities have set for testing of on-site streams or and or wells.
I'm talking about the streams now, because I mean, that seems to be what after they've done the renovations, it's maintenance after that, which is not going to be a whole lot different than it's right now. And I assume that they're following the label guidelines of the things that they use, and that they're not overdoing it.
To my knowledge, there's no agency that requires ongoing testing.
So then why would we do it?
Because if you feel that it is essentially a sound, reasonable condition associated with the use of the property. Let me get my actual language in here. As stated before, under Virginia law, the condition imposed must bear a reasonable relationship to legitimate land use concerns and problems generated by the use of the property.
Do you all think? I kind of think, putting a limit on it, 3-5 years post construction would be reasonable, just to kind of, unless some alarming results come up.
And then at that point, they've got a problem.
Yeah, they're a runoff problem.
And we staff did chat about this. Of course, again, as reported, the county does not have the ability to amend the conditions once they are set. However, the applicant certainly does. So if it is 5 years and these tests come back that there's no increase of these different components, they certainly have the ability to come in and say, hey, this is what we found for the last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be, and request that condition be modified or ultimately removed.
Seems fair then. Just to leave it
Not saying that I disagree with implementing a time frame associated with it, but just the rationale.
What were you saying? Just keep it or reduce it?
I mean,
limit it?
Without putting we don't know what a bad result would be, and what the right amount of time is, 3 years, 5 years, if you so maybe annual with, they could come back in 3 or 5 years and say, our results are good. Can we reduce this requirement?
I'm fine with letting it go now and doing the research that we need and letting the staff research it, what a normal time frame is by the time they hit the supervisor.
Okay.
And if I may add something just for context, as Russell mentioned, if we do change the definition of a country club through a zoning text amendment, it will require them to come back and reapply to be a country club. So for a special exception, in order that new definition would apply to them, which then would give another chance then to address conditions, because it would be a new special exception granted for those purposes. And just put a little more context on it too. It's actually something that probably won't need to be done immediately. The reason being is that as long as they keep their existing buildings, they can continue to host special events they have done prior to that until those existing buildings are torn down and until they start having them in the new buildings. Because this is all for, you know, the country club definition. Right now, they're able to function because of prior, why do I keep on?
Legal non-conforming status.
Prior legal non-conforming status. And they can continue to function that manner even with their existing buildings while the construction is gone until such time that they cease to use them because those were under prior form. So the timing on when they need to come back, it would be up to them and obviously up to when we make the zoning text amendment.
Well, we could put, after the reconstruction of the golf course, annual testing shall be performed at least once annually during these months for a minimum of 5 years, something like that. We had that.
That's fine with me.
I can go on to. It's still, they could come back before that and say, listen, we had 2 years of.
If they do, assuming that the special events is added to the definition of country club and they seek again to receive a special exception, they'd have to get a new special exception application for the new country club definition to be applicable. And at that time, all this can be looked at again.
Okay, but
Well,
that,
this would be, this,
Well, it would be unique for the new definition, including the special events. So you would have to reapply for the special event portion of it. But
the application would have to be, because you're applying for the full definition of what a country club is. There's no, you can't apply to be considered a country club with the new definition. You can't say just part of that definition we're applying for.
it could be unique to amending the existing special exception
Yes, we
permit.
could.
It could be,
to include the new, you could do it that way, yes.
yes.
Or you could do it as a new application for it too,
I mean, it would definitely be a new application, but it would be
For a new special-
curtailed, if you will,
for a new special exception.
for the special exception part of it.
So there's ways to do that in multiple ways. So it would be, and maybe this is probably beyond what we're discussing now, but, and so we could probably discuss this probably afterwards. Russell, I think the right thing doesn't necessarily impact what we're doing right now, but I think that'd be a good discussion.
okay, we all right with, putting in the minimum of 5 years in, number 7?
That's good.
I'm good with that.
All right, number 8.
So who's paying for this? Chris?
The joint venture.
The joint venture.
Joint venture shall be formed for all landowners within the designated area who have notified the Office of Community Development.
Within writing of 30 days if they want to do it. That's what
Yeah,
it says.
so is the applicant paying for it? Are we paying for it? Or the
this
landowner?
shall be performed for all landowners,
Yeah,
not for.
yes, but
That's an
Perform
excellent
for,
point.
that
I
means
think
it's
it should be a
not the
point of
landowner.
clarification, costs associated with, and going back to condition number 7, it would state costs associated with, adding a new sentence to the end. Costs associated with the pre and post water and sediment testing of streams shall be bared by the landowner. And then the same could be clarified. Good point. The same could be added to number 8.
And that's at the end.
I'm sorry, what's that?
You're putting that at the end, Chris?
Yes. It really goes anywhere, but yes, sir.
How will the notification to, or have y'all done a GIS exercise to know how many residents are within 1,000 feet?
Yeah, approximately, yes. I mean, I'm thinking certainly less than 30. I mean, if you want me to pull up the map, the large majority of properties around the country club are on public water and public sewer. There may be some associated with the there are definitely some associated with the south side and north side of Ross Road, and there could very well be a few associated with the newest development along, is that Pinehurst or there, before I say something. won't share my screen. But the large majority of them certainly are on the north and south side of Ross Road. But there could be some associated with the latest subdivision off of Pinehurst Drive, excuse me. But you know, the large majority, the very much large majority of the housing development in the area, the greens, the meadows of Woods Creek, et cetera, are on public water.
Okay.
And that's where that staff did discuss this, and of course added the language that as determined by the Office of Community Development. And so what we would do would be checking essentially health department records to verify. We could also check with the Public Service Authority to verify that they're not on public water. But off the cuff, I'm thinking that it's certainly less than 30 properties.
So what did we end up adding to that?
Just the costs associated with the testing is borne by the landowner.
We should specify Lexington LGCC/WL joint venture, landowner of the golf course, if you will.
Okay. Y'all good on this one?
And just for, I guess, Board of Supervisors, costs associated with per test would be a nice note for the supervisor meeting. I just factual information.
And that obviously depends on, you know, the capabilities of Washington and Lee, what they have. It is interesting that the recent newspaper advertisement is interesting to see. It's interesting to see.
And it
what
may
they
be
will do
that
for
Washington Lee takes it and runs it and doesn't cost them anything. I don't
More
know,
nominal,
but
yes.
yeah.
But with the overall, I will say with the overall scope of the project and the costs associated with the project, it's certainly nominal.
AI says $400
There you go.
per test.
Just reading through it again, so there's pre-testing and then post-testing? I don't see a time frame after construction is over with.
Yes, and it could be very well that you know you utilize the same language in the condition number 7, or a longer time frame. Again, knowing that once the conditions are set, the county does not have the ability to
Just
solely amend the conditions without the applicant making an application.
I think you have to have post-testing. I mean, pre-testing is good, but
Oh, certainly for some time period, yes.
yeah, I don't see that in the language here. So
Which one?
8.
8's in the, it says pre and post taste testing of wells. The first line.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you have to have a baseline.
Yeah. You want to put a time frame?
For the post, correct?
Proposed. The number of times, I guess. I mean, I would think the same thing. A minimum of 5 years. I would want to know. I would ease my mind having 5 years of test results. Or could we slip that in if you guys want to?
Well, so we want the applicant to pay for those tests?
Mm-hmm. Or if we just do it one time, there's no time frame on when the post is done. help us out, Chris, with some wording. I think the intent is to post-test, obviously,
After completion.
yeah, after completion of everything, maybe even,
Because pre gives you your baseline, post, I mean, but are we more concerned with after construction or after the kill off? That's my main thing, is that
yeah.
construction is construction, but everybody's main concern is the use of chemicals. So it's not, I don't know. I'm not a,
I don't either.
I would suggest, following the language in draft condition number 7. With that being said, it would be after the reconstruction of the golf course, annual testing shall be performed at least once annually during the months of June, July, or August. And then if you want to put a time frame on there, it could be for a minimum of X years.
That was a minimum 5 years, right?
You guys capturing this?
I'm trying.
Okay, number 9, implementation of the project must occur within blank months from the date of approval.
I mean, honestly, they're trying to get everything done. The timeline's somewhat been laid out. Russ, did you say 2027?
Yeah.
And that, worst case scenario, if something did happen,
30 months.
how I don't know. I don't do that.
That was fine.
30 months.
Well, implementation, I guess when they break ground, get started, that'd be within, you said the standard 6 months, we could say 6 months. I mean, they're gonna 6 months, fine.
We're talking about the first one.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Completion must occur within blank months. That were your 30.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we go with what he's saying, give them 2 years
Give them the 2 years and
and
then
then
give them
a
an
year,
extension.
another year. I mean, a lot of these things could,
So you want 36 months?
No,
no,
he's talking about
project completion must
worst case
occur
scenario,
within,
they can
what are
do
we,
an extension without having to go through the process.
but we're essentially talking 2 years from now.
So
That
he
would be
wants
finished.
to, I mean, I foresee them, they've already had a year to do this. We can give them an extra whatever. You can say 30 months. That gives them a 2.5 years.
That's fine.
And worst case scenario, we can give them another year if they need to.
Okay.
That sound feasible?
30 months with
And
up
12
to a
months.
12 month.
A 12-month extension?
Okay.
So to be clear, the blanks are 6, 30, 12.
Correct.
Yep.
Number 10, what time do we want to shut down the events as they are currently permitted for member guests only?
I mean, is there a current time in place, Russ? Is it currently 11 for events? I can't remember, but I mean, I think we were out by 10, to be honest with you. But
Yeah, I don't think there's a limit currently, and I don't think anything has ever gone past.
I'm usually in bed
11.
by 9, but
11 would be wonderful if
Okay.
we could get that.
Okay.
And while I'm standing up here on number 8, the pre and post, I didn't understand that we would for 5 years be doing annual tests of every private well. Certainly post, I understand that, but not annually, right? Just after we're done, because again, we're running a golf course and we'll be running a golf course. So this is for construction. This is for the special exception, which is the glyphosate, let's say.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
it's not every year for
No,
5 years.
no, it shouldn't be.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Did you all
To be
think
clear,
it was?
that's what the planning commission has recommended.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
What, the annual?
for 5 years annually?
No.
No, that's the 7. We're talking about 8.
7.
We're talking about the
we had
well.
the same language in both though.
Yes.
What he's saying,
That's the way I
yeah, what
got it.
Chris was implying is that you're putting the same language in 7 that you are in 8.
But the same
But
language in 8 that we're using in 7.
yeah,
Mhm.
But that's not,
But 8
I mean-
doesn't have the annual.
they're talking about adding it.
Oh.
I mean, I think if
No, I don't think we did that.
the university is going to be doing it or can do it, I don't think it's too much to ask. that's education exercise for some students as well. So we can, I mean, I'm okay to leave it in and let the board take it back out if it's too much, but
Believe we're adding it.
we're adding it.
Okay, we're not leaving it in because it's not there now.
Well, yeah,
But it's correct to state we're leaving it because that was the consensus of the planning commission where we had that discussion a few minutes ago.
right. Okay, the last two, you guys, they're pretty cut and dry.
So I'm catching up with you. Number 10 is concluded by,
I don't know about 8 though, because 8 it applies to the water, and the main concern is the initial kill off using all this. Why would you double hit them on a 5-year on the well water? Because the main concern is that once you do it, the well water is not contaminated. I get what Tony's saying, is that you're kind of like, that's asking, I feel it's asking too much, because I mean, I'm fine with saying do it, but not for 5 years, because they've been doing the operations they've been doing will be continued to be done once the course is built. This has to do with the initial kill off.
Well,
And
and
the
that would be
sections.
limited only to glyphosate if you want to do it that way. You're talking about the initial kit, I should say.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
and I don't know, turf maintenance, if it takes more fungicide for the first few years to get everything settled in, I don't know. So that's the only reason I would expect them to use more chemicals in the establishment period and a couple of years afterwards than a normal routine maintenance. But I mean, I'm not don't know turf grass maintenance, but you could say 3, drop it back to 3, or just make it once and done. Whatever y'all want to do.
You mean on number 9?
Yeah, number 9.
I'm good with once and done.
I'm good with the once and done on that.
we're talking about 8.
I'm talking about 9. Oh yeah, 8. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, once and done.
And blanks for us to fill in for number 11 and 12. Y'all have any other?
I think the number 10
10.
time on that has been filled out. What time do you want to go to on 10?
Yes.
Oh, we said
I was
11.
fine with 11 p.m. on number 10. I think that's what we had all. Was everybody else fine with 11?
Maybe
Is that-
those people might not be.
Now,
Yeah.
Is that consistent with the ordinance now for noise? Does it go to midnight? We're actually,
It's 11:59 on Fridays and Saturdays, I believe. It may very well may be. But that does, how this would pertain to there is either noise ordinance, I should say, would pertain to amplified music or audible voices from the property line after 50
5.
people are there or something like that. If it then exceeds 50 people. And I can bring that up directly if needed.
well, I'm just saying, but right now on weekends, it's midnight. And we're proposing 11.
You certainly have the ability to be more restrictive than the noise ordinance.
Right, I'm saying, but I'm just pointing the fact is that it could go, if we don't put this in at all, they can go to midnight.
Depending on the level of noise, yes, sir.
Anything else? All right, would anybody like to make a motion at this time?
My notes aren't good enough.
I can
And I think we have detailed notes, or at least the consensus of the planning commission based on the YouTube video, as far as if you want to go over them, we certainly can.
No, I mean,
no.
unless need be, yeah.
Chris, can you just to help me out, maybe at least with number 8, I'm not quite sure what language would be if we don't have 5 years, if it's one and done, how would we word that?
Absolutely. So number 1, we'll just go through them. How about that? Number 1 stands as is.
Yeah.
Number 2, the blanks are 8 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Correct.
Number 3 stands as is. Number 4 stands as is. Number 5 stands as is. Number 6 is modified to at minimum 8-foot fencing associated with the eastern, western, and southern sides of the pickleball and or tennis courts shall have acoustic panel system. The rest remains as is. Number 7, we are adding for a minimum of 5 years after the sentence that says after the reconstruction of golf course, annual testing shall be performed at least once annually during the months of June, July, or August for a minimum of 5 years. We're asking or we're adding that costs associated with the pre and post water and sediment testing of streams shall be bared by Lexington Golf and Country Club.
I think we should say landowner because there might be a change in ownership and that should.
Yep,
apply
I
to
have that. Lexington Golf and Country Club / WNL Joint Venture LLC or future landowner.
Subsequent landowner.
Okay. Number 8 has that same language about the costs associated with the testing. As far as the annual testing, that would be under their special accepted grant right entry. The applicant shall said that will state that after the reconstruction of the golf course, one test shall be performed during the month of June, July, August after the reconstruction of the golf course.
Where are you putting the after? Additionally, so water.
That is the second to last sentence in the current
The applicant shall
paragraph.
be required to send. Is that where you're starting? The applicant shall be, and then you're putting that before the applicant shall be.
No, the second to last after the reconstruction of the golf course annual testing. One test shall be performed at least once during the month of June, July, or August after the reconstruction of the golf course.
But we're putting it before the sentence that says the applicant shall be required to send notification.
That's
The
what I was
applicant,
asking.
that's going to be the last sentence.
Before the last sentence.
So it's even before that then.
2 sentences before, after adding the cost bearer.
I'm trying to find the period.
It's the easiest way to find it, 3 to 7 years after each application.
Oh, no, that's.
Oh,
that's
no,
not-
I'm sorry, I'm
that's-
sorry.
that's
I'm
not-
Not
getting
there.
confused. You are stating that rate of entry. It would be a new sentence. I apologize. It would be a new sentence that says after the reconstruction of the golf course, testing shall be performed at once during the month of June, July, August. Period.
And we're
And-
adding
and
that
in fact,
before
that-
the applicant.
What's that?
So we're putting that before the applicant. That line that I was discussing. That's what Vivica was asking too.
So it would go before the current last sentence. So
Yes.
on here, so it would say the applicant shall be required, and then we would go into the costs associated. So after reconstruction of the golf course, and then the sentence that begins, the applicant shall be required, and then the sentence that says costs associated with pre and post.
So that would allow a 1 full year of activity. If the goal, if the Memorial Day of 2027, 2027, excuse me,
You want it to say during the months of June, July, or August.
or August, yes.
Okay.
And the rationale for that is obviously that's the heaviest use of the chemicals. That clear?
Working on it. Yeah.
Number 9, the blanks are 3, 30, and 12.
6.
I'm sorry, 6, 30, and 12. That's what I had. Just read it wrong. Apologize. Number 10, the blank is 11 p.m.
I misspoke. I said that we would like 11 o'clock. It complies with your noise ordinance to go to 12 o'clock. And I did say 11, and thank you. But if we could go 12, that I don't think stuff goes to 12, but if we could change that, that would be great. Sorry about that.
So on 10,
We're talking about 10.
12 p.m. 12.
Well, that is that is on Friday and Saturday. So if you want to just, the noise ordinance is what it is. So if you want to just remove that altogether and lean on the noise ordinance for this type of activity in a residential zoning district,
So you can just X that out altogether.
if you want to have your baseline be the current noise ordinance.
Tony?
I think
That's
there's.
11 on the
That's
weekdays.
right. It's 11 weekdays and yeah, that's what had brought up before. That would pertain like people having a party in their yard or something, right? I mean, that was the idea of the ordinance. Right, it's more.
Yeah, that applies to people. But it applies to any.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
matter.
but this could be
You
that multiplied, you know.
you're not bothering your neighbors past
Right.
the sound ordinance.
So I mean, it
itself,
would
so
make
like-
some sense that we make it more restrictive than.
Well, if you look at it in context of special event ones that you've done several of in the past, we normally bring those hours well below that time. So, but it's just a question of what you think is appropriate.
State 11, what,
And whatever you think is appropriate, you can recommend that.
So what did we agree on?
well, we said
Previously, 11
right,
p.m.
11.
11 and on weekends, the same? Or number 10?
Just to
Well, if
clarify
you
that,
follow a noise ordinance, it is 11/12. But if
Sure.
what this is saying is that it's on Friday and Saturday, Sunday, it's 11 p.m. That's what he's saying. If you follow a noise ordinance, it changes to 12 on the weekend.
Yeah. So what about holidays?
Whatever day it falls on.
Mhm.
That's what I think. Is
Fourth
that
of
right?
July.
It falls during a weekday, unless it falls on a weekend.
Okay.
so you all can do, as Chris suggested, we can strike that and just go by what the existing ordinance requires, or you can set a time.
Yeah, you
frame
wouldn't even
where
have to
you think's
put
appropriate.
anything in there. It's just the same. You have the option to exit, or you can keep it the same.
Current ordinances that differentiates weekends. You said it goes to 11:59. What about Monday through Thursday?
I'll say it's section 4.73, loud noises prohibited. It shall be unlawful for any person on Sunday through Thursday between the hours of 11 p.m. and 8 a.m. the following day, and Friday and Saturdays between the hours of 11:59 p.m. and 8 a.m. the following day. And then it goes on to say to use, operate, or there's a whole lot of different things, pretty much loudspeakers, amplified sound equipment, or other machine device capable of reproducing sound in a manner such volume duration is plainly audible inside the confines of a dwelling or house or apartment of another person at 50 or more feet from the device itself. Then it states number 2 is to create noise from talking, yelling, shouting, whistling, singing, or any combination thereof as plainly audible either inside the confines of the dwelling unit, house or apartment, or other person, or at 50 feet or more from the source of the noise, when noise is generated from a gathering of 10 people or more. And that does obviously pertain to the most rural parts of the county as well, not only residential zoning districts.
I'm fine with the noise ordinance.
So we're
Saying get
in
rid of
accordance
it.
with the
And,
county
well, I mean,
ordinance.
we don't have to say anything. We just exit out altogether. Unless you want to put that in, Chris, for the noise ordinance.
It's not needed if you want. to
Okay,
just
I
base
would
your-
say,
base
all
your
right,
decision
so
on the existing
I'm
noise
fine with taking it
ordinance.
out.
Okay.
Tony?
Okay.
Okay.
Number 11.
Which is now 10.
Yeah, no, moving on to number 11. Stays the same, and 12 stays the same.
Yeah.
Anybody want to try to read it?
Do we need to read
And
it?
that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's necessary. I think we have a good understanding of the proposed changes as discussed.
We just need a motion to,
To either approve or deny?
Recommend.
Recommend, yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, where is that?
Recommend.
I make a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors that the application for a special exception for the improvement / expansion of the existing Lexington Golf and Country Club located on the north and south side of New Camry Drive be approved per the conditions we just discussed.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Very well done.
Oh. So we need a roll call.
Shouldn't he ask for nays too? And
Yeah, ask for Nate, but you did say it's unanimous at the
Oh,
end, so
okay.
that,
All right.
that's, yeah.
I would
Yeah.
like to take a break.
Yep.
Like a 5 minute or
5 minute or less.
5 minute or
Okay,
less.
got it.
Reconvene it.
Drink.
I said 8 o'clock. I think about 8 o'clock. I texted Lisa. 6:45.
Yeah.
So that'd be understandable because
Yeah.
kids will
Yeah. I still think it wouldn't hurt. I mean, that. Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, if it's part of it. Approve it, but I mean, I could say the course. Beaches and two. Yeah, it could go any direction. I know. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, right. I'm gonna do the sediment testing. You know,
Well done.
Yeah, we tested sediment in one of our recreational lakes. We sprayed like copper sulfate, and we just tested. You know, we drained it every year. We started testing sediment. It's like way off the charts. Of course, it's trapped in the sediment. So, yeah, when we took the dredge, we had to treat that dredge material appropriately. So, yeah.
What?
I would expect-
Yeah, shit. That was a pretty good one. Yeah,
that was pretty good.
you guys did pretty well.
Oh, well, I mean, any type of stuff that's, yeah, you're right. I mean, it could come from anywhere. Up watershed, stuff they've applied. But, I don't know, there's no. Their values will go up. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's no remedies. Remedies aren't. Right. Right.
One day before the test, the farmer kills that whole field so he can plant something different. If there's a problem with something, you don't know it's, well, it could be debatable.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's great budget.
all right. You'll have to look at it. Come on, Bob.
Oh,
What's that first time? You know how many times I don't flop in that chair? We've had 3 of those long.
yeah. Yeah.
Where'd everybody go?
Maybe just make this ag transition. Yeah, maybe you're right.
Tom,
Wait,
did you hit a, Tom, did you hit a golf ball?
Yeah,
Hit a golf ball?
Did I hit one?
I want to say it was probably on 18. I was straight because he ended up using my ball. Chris let that thing fly. It's either Chris or my boss. Right enough. I think it was my boss that flew it right. And I said, that's in Bruce Young's old yard.
My brother was playing out in San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two line off. He was a pretty good golfer. He's close to scratch. He heard glass shatter. He didn't do
I've heard of where drivers had driven on a golf course and fought people over it. But every beach and every country, every club at Virginia Beach has the liability factor saying if you hit somebody, it is up between you two to fight.
I've always heard that.
We are still live, and we have everybody.
Everybody's here. Should we get after it, Chris? Tony's here.
Yep.
You guys ready?
All right, who's ready now?
Okay, item number 6 on our agenda, Washington Lee University, public hearing, application for a special exception permit for the expansion of a private school in the agricultural transitional AT zoning district. Chris?
Right.
Yes, apologize.
That's okay.
The next application we have is associated with Washington Lee University, 204 West Washington Street, Lexington, Virginia, has made a special exception for expansion of a private school. Property is owned by Washington Lee University and was identified as 126 West Midland Trail, Lexington, Virginia. The property is located on the north side of West Midland Trail, further identified as Route 60, approximately 0.15 miles west of the city of Lexington. Property is located in the agricultural transitional district per section 603B.03-17 of the regulations. Private schools are used by special exception in the AT zoning district. Property is further identified as tax map number 61-A-44 and consists of 68.9 acres per tax records. The applications for the development of a driving range and practice green for the use of WNL golf teams. With that, would it be appropriate at this time to review the draft conditions? The draft conditions associated with the, as presented, that could be utilized. As always, we prepared a motion to approve with conditions and a motion to continue and a motion to set over, motion to deny, all the different options y'all have. Number 1 of the draft conditions that could be utilized for a approval, recommendation of approval, is substantial compliance with the schematic plan prepared by Washington Lee University titled Proposed Driving Range, Peniel Farm, dated March 8th, 2025, and the schematic plans prepared by Washington Lee titled Proposed Golf Practice Additions, Peniel, and I'm probably butchering that as well, Farm, dated March 18th, 2025, with a revision date of March 25th, 2025. Both of those plans, of course, are in your package. Draft condition number 2, no outdoor lighting will be associated with the driving range or green. Number 3, some of these have been slightly modified since the agenda item went out. Removal of vegetation trees below the proposed tee boxes to allow access to hitting area and limits of the driving range. Limited removal of vegetation on the west side of the driving range to allow access for the ball retriever, and no tree or vegetation removal on the east side of the property associated with the driving range. Number 4, the site modifications shall be reverted back to original condition at the end of the special exception period. Number 5, the use of the driving range and putting green shall be limited to Washington Lee men's and women's golf teams. That's per the application itself, written description in the application, I should say. Again, a period of validity for the special exception permit shall be until October 31st, 2028. That is, I think per the written description, I think that date was sometime in September of 2028. As you know, we can't advertise this as a temporary special exception permit. We received a fair amount of calls with this, and one thing that I think has appeased people, if you will, or reduce the concerns that it is a temporary use. Again, I can't advertise it as a temporary special exception because this is a draft condition and it's not a set condition until the Board of Supervisors adopts the conditions, if the Board of Supervisors adopts the conditions, I should say. And finally, approval contingent upon Virginia Department of Transportation, erosion and sediment, stormwater management, if applicable, approvals and all state and federal regulations. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to two gentlemen, Mr. Klowski and Mr. Kep. And I'm butchering that last name.
Chris, before you step away, you mentioned that you got calls, but we've got nothing in writing.
We have no, that's correct. Correct, Viveka? We have received nothing in writing.
What were some of the?
Just the nature of it, where it was, light, there was a lighting concern, proximity to the river, neighbors from the other side of the river, that type of thing.
Okay.
Y'all like to come up, explain further details of it?
Good evening, Tom Kolaski, Executive Director of Facilities at Washington Lee, here on behalf of the applicant. In your packet, we have the site plans and references. It's the last 2 pages. It's actually pretty straightforward. What I can do is walk through the 2 areas, one being the actual driving range, and then the other, which is a putting and chipping practice area. So the driving, and again, this is for a temporary 3-year period. The driving range is offline out at the country club. And so again, this is land that we own. It basically just sits there. It's recreational land, and W&L does offer it to the public. So many of you have probably been over there on hiking trails and the like. This would be for our private use, and the driving range would, as you can see there, we have it set at 350 yards. I'm thinking that's a pretty good poke for anybody. So our collegiate athletes, if they hit it 300 yards, that's a good drive. And so, and then on the other side of the house, we are proposing a practice green with a sand trap and also some chipping areas that they can hit from. On the driving range, the implementation of that is merely mowing the grass shorter so that the ball retriever could get the balls. We would also trim some autumn olive and some just scruffy cedar trees. So that would be the extent of things there. On the other side, where we have the green, there's a couple dead trees we would take down. The green, what the plan to implement that is actually to strip the sod, the bent grass sod, out at the existing country club and bring that. So it's a pretty quick establishment of that. As far as the sand trap or the bunker, that would be a shallow area that we would remove the existing topsoil, store that on site, fill it with sand at the end of the 3-year period. As far as remediating the site, we put the original topsoil back in. As far as the practice range, where we create the tee boxes, again, take a minimal impact there, just put some landscape timbers down, backfill till it's level, put some mats down. At the end of the 3-year period, we pull those up and restore it back to its original condition. So as far as the land disturbance, it's minimal, and we would take it back to its original condition. So that's kind of it, just real quick. Like I said, I believe it's pretty straightforward. But with that, I'm glad to answer any questions or any clarifications. Tony was out the other day and we walked through it, so he has a pretty good sense of what we.
Yeah, one question I would have, and I might need some help there. The conservation easement that you have there, I I don't know if you're aware that there is a Virginia Outdoors the foundation. Yeah, they have an easement.
Yeah,
on
do
that.
you need to run this by them?
Drew and I actually, Drew Kepley is our university architect who's here with me this evening. We met with representatives out of the Stanton office last Thursday. They confirmed that the intended use is within the described uses in the easement. They took some pictures. The only thing that they were really interested in was our remediation efforts. How are we going to restore that back to its original condition? We described that. They seemed fine with that. They will go back and write a report. They did indicate
You will get something in writing.
that report, though, they indicated it's going to take about 30 days. So, everything appeared to be fine from their comments. However, that report would be available. And I don't know what the timing of the supervisors meeting would be, but.
All right.
Follow up with some more of the legal aspect of it. If the report came back negative and they, for some reason they changed their mind, you would not proceed with the project?
I think we'd have further conversations with
them to do that. They can't, but
Yes.
but you're proceeding with, you're proceeding with the project.
We have no reason to believe that.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be unlikely, but part of the WNL's position would be you would not do something which would jeopardize the conservation easement. Yeah. Okay.
One of the things I was concerned with, and I spoke to Chris a little bit, is that the conditions that we put on there actually could be more stringent ones, and I didn't want our conditions to be.
That's a valid point. So I assume that would be something you would share with the conservation agent, whatever conditions we're imposing. My personal view, and I don't speak as an expert because we do not own that conservation easement. We're not the ones that granted it. But my looking at it, I don't see any of those which, if they're fine in concept of what they're doing, I don't see any of these would necessarily undermine the conservation easement. But I get, again, if for some reason it did, WNL's position would be we will not proceed with something that would destroy our conservation easement.
We're not going to
first.
compromise.
Yeah.
that.
So in other words,
We had that precedent with the other private easement, and we kind of shied away from this. This is a little different
this
because
is a little
because
different.
it actually is part of our comprehensive plan. I mean, conservation easements are consistent with.
Yeah. I mean, we encourage them as part of our policy generally, and we've actually taken several actions for private landowners to actually change their zoning districts and sort of they could qualify for conservation easements. This situation here, I'm comfortable from a county perspective to go ahead and proceed with these as they now stand, with the understand that WNL it's a matter specific to WNL and that they wouldn't do anything that would undermine their conservation easement. So for some reason, these conditions so they couldn't do the conservation easement, they'd have to come back and apply again, seek for additional conditions. And is that correct? I don't want to speak for you, but that's, I assume, would be what you would do. Yeah.
And with regards to the draft conditions, number 3, the trees or vegetation, east, west, everybody's got a little different compass points, but I can tell you that we will remove some of those autumn olives and scrub cedars right in front of the tee boxes, as well as out about 300 yards out. No deciduous trees or hardwoods or anything like that would be affected.
So the area in front of the tee box within the cone there, those trees are all the trees are going to all.
Right.
remain.
It's, as you saw the other day, the autumn olive is grown up. We're going to remove that.
I mean, you could be hitting trees.
I always hit a tree.
Huh?
I always hit a tree.
I said, when you put them right in the library,
Yeah.
on fire. So I'm not treating it like Russ isn't here anymore. You guys, I'm treating more the collegiate athletes that maybe are a lot more accurate than maybe they're not.
They are.
Still half until it's all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, one of the things that we'll leave that for later.
Any more questions for Tom? This is before we open the public hearing. This is our discussion. We good?
I'm good.
All right. At this time, we're going to open the public hearing. Anyone physically present who would like to speak? No one signed up?
Want
time.
You want to check online?
While I check online, we'll recognize them at this time. If anyone's online, make a comment, please utilize your raise your hand button now. Not seeing any, turn the floor back over to the chair.
Okay, are there any objections to closing the public hearing, or would you guys like to push this thing off to the next meeting, June 11th?
I'm ready.
I'm good to go.
Everybody's ready. All right.
I do want to have
Yep.
one discussion. I mean, close the hearing.
Okay, with no further public comments, we will close the public hearing. We've done that. Additional anybody want additional discussion?
I'd like to revise 6, the period of validity. We've heard and talking to Russ, the plans is to have the golf course finished by 2027, Memorial Day, 2027.
With a 12-month extension, if possible.
With an extension, a possible extension. Correct. But I'm saying they're shooting to that target. This is 2 years, a year and a half or a year and some beyond that. I mean, could we reword that such that it more aligns with
when the other one's operable? How about when you say when the?
Well, I was thinking we could do a thing where we can allow the zoning administrator to put an extension, put it.
Yeah, I would not recommend tying it into another special exception.
No.
That could be problematic. But with that being said, we could utilize some of the former language.
I looked at, I guess the golf teams have fall and spring seasons, and was kind of looking at where they ended. So they're ending right about now.
Commissioner Breezy, can we, I think that might be something we might want to double check with the applicant, because that change that date could affect their position, the information they provide on the conservation easement. So I don't know if that would be something that would impact that or not, or it may not be, but I think that'd be.
I mean, as far as the change in date?
Yeah, change. Yeah,
it might change.
Because, and that would be something to ask them. Often conservation easements part we've dealt on, which won't be used for this amount of time, then we're going to restore it.
Can we ask Tom to come back up and address the time frame?
Time frame was intentionally set 1 year beyond the completion date at the country club at Memorial Day of 27. This is a compromised driving range. We have no motivation to stay there and use it. As soon as the facility is ready at the country club, they call it performance center or something to that effect. That's our motivation to get out there and restore this. So that's the reason. We just wanted to give ourselves some time frame extra beyond their May 27.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying is that maybe rather than just put a single date out there, put an earlier date and then allow an extension by the zoning request of the zoning, like we did with.
How about you just say May of 28?
Well, one of the things I looked at is I said when I mentioned the seasons is that November 15th would probably be a reasonable date to put that. That would make sure that you got all the way through the fall season, and then an extension if necessary would be another year or something like that.
Yeah, they may practice that season. They're going to practice all year long.
But at that point, if they would have a place.
In theory,
they have a theory, have a place there, but then we'd still allow. It wouldn't have to come back to us. It would go to the zoning administrator. We did that on just the last one, where we've got.
I'm fine with this ride because it's their property. I mean, and they have full intention on going to the country club after this, because why would you hit at a range like that if they're putting a state-of-the-art facility and putting tons of money into it?
So I have so much experience with the solar farms, and we worry about the 40 years that them remediating them. I just don't think that we need to extend it longer than we have to, as far as the. I think the remediation is the important start. I mean, there's going to be a lot of golf balls out there that need.
I'm not worried about a golf ball versus a solar farm. I'm fine with do whatever you got.
I mean, frankly, it's 6 of one, half dozen the other. If you want to keep it at how we have it at 28, or if we want to back it off in a year and it's just administrative issue
Yeah,
between
that-
us and
that's-
Chris,
I'm not,
that's fine too. I mean, I don't,
I mean, he'd be able to make the judgment, you know, if there was a request to extend it, knowing that that the golf club is up and running, that would be a reason to deny at that point.
You would have to detail. So the last one we did, just for context, I should say, was, bear with me here. It would be a little bit different because implementation, substantial completion, that type of thing, I don't think we're concerned with. But as far as the draft condition associated with this one, period of validity for the special exception permit shall be until, I think what we're saying is, they were saying September, excuse me, August 31st, 2028. You could say August 31st, 2027, 2027. And going back with this, with up to a 12-month extension of the period of validity. Not sure about that one. That's a little bit different. The period of validity. You're not changing the implementation date, nor you're changing and that last one. This one, we're dealing with a period of validity. I'm not sure we have the same flexibility of a period of validity with this than
And what you are correct with that. And so Commissioner Spreezy, I think the point is what we are allowed to give a certain time frame on for how long the special exception is valid. We can't just administratively then extend that time frame. So we have to set a time frame for the validity of it. And they would actually have to come back and reapply for a special exception to extend that validity period. So there wouldn't be the flexibility like you would have like for the construction situation where we can say we'll grant you this much time plus an extension. That's just for the time for the construction. That's not an end of their special exception. It just means you have the conditions, you have to finish construction by such a time, but we'll grant it longer. This will end their special exception. So this is, and so if I don't think we have the flexibility to, we have to fix a date. And the only way they come back and extend that would be to reapply for a special exception and seek to change the condition.
Tony,
Their motivations are the same as ours to get the kids over here.
Tony, if it makes you feel better, do you want to do like, because me running numbers in my head, that would mean May 31st of 28.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Okay.
And
Is that okay?
Because we're giving them a year.
Your motivations are the same
I'm
as.
talking about the construction.
Well, we've got October right now, October.
It doesn't really matter. I don't really care. I'm trying to compromise.
And this doesn't affect your discussions on the conservation.
I'm fine with October.
dates
I'll
on that.
vote October.
I'm fine with October.
Okay, I'm fine with October too. I'm just trying to
Their
compromise
motivations
here.
are the same as ours. I mean, everybody's motivations are the same. They want to get that thing closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we just don't want to come back.
You could, you could modify that, just say, remediation will begin immediately upon.
This is
We
the,
have no condition
No, it's
right
because
now
of the
about
validity
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, okay, all right,
So we're good with the date.
I'm good with it. Yeah.
okay. All right, any,
one other thing I'd like to,
Yep.
Vivica had pointed out, appreciate her pointing that out. It's all the modification number four, the site modifications shall be reverted to the original condition, excluding the vegetation and tree removal at the end of the special exception period. Obviously, you're not gonna bring those back.
So you said shall be
The
reverted
site
to
number four,
Yeah.
site modification shall be reverted back to the original condition, excluding the vegetation / tree removal at the end of the special exception period.
it's fine, okay. Any additional discussion? Let's see.
I guess I do know that comment. I hear the comment that their motivation is the same. I agree. But I don't know what people's motivations will be 2 years from now, 3 years from now.
but the period ends, it goes, Tony. So I mean, even if they want to, I mean, by this date, it's getting cut off.
And
It's not like
I got
they,
that. I mean, to me, it was, we, if we went by the motivation that's presented, I mean, we're trying to put conditions down there that that help to make sure that those.
Yeah, but you'd hate
And this
to,
is nothing reflecting the
you
folks here
you would
today.
hate to hamstring them if something does go wrong.
Yeah.
You'd
Oh, I
hate to
was not
hamstring.
trying to, I was
Yeah.
trying to make it.
I know, but it, just like, if you're looking at ifs and ands, you'd hate to hamstring them if the country club project doesn't go on schedule, which is always a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay, would any commission member like to make a motion?
I make a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors that the application for the special exception permit for the proposed expansion of a private school located at 126 West Millen Trail, Lexington, Virginia 24450, further identified as tax map parcel 61-A-44. It's on 68.9 acres per tax record within the agricultural transition zoning district, be recommended for approval with the following conditions: substantial compliance with the schematic plans prepared by Washington Lee University titled Proposed Driving Range. What is that? Penile Farm, WNL dated March 18th, 2025, and the schematic plans prepared by Washington Lee University titled Proposed Golf Practice Additions, Penile Farm, WNL dated March 18th of 2025, and the revision date of March 25th of 2025. 2, no outdoor lighting will be associated with the driving range or green. 3, removal of vegetation/trees below the proposed tee boxes to allow for access to the hitting area and at the limits of the driving range. Limited removal of vegetation on the west side of the driving range to allow access for the ball retriever. No tree or vegetation removal on the east side of the property associated with the driving range. 4, the site modification shall be reverted to the original condition, excluding vegetation/tree removal at the end of the special exception period. 5, use of the driving range and putting green shall be limited to Washington Lee University's men's and women's golf teams. 6, the period of validity for the special exception permit shall be until October 31st, 2028. 7, approval contingent on Virginia Department of Transportation Erosion and Sediment/Stormwater Control Management, if applicable, approvals and all applicable state and federal regulations.
We have a motion by Adam Sanders and seconded by Bob Kramer. Let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nay? None. The vote is unanimous. Carries. Thank you all. Okay. Next item on our agenda is Lisa Plummer.
Ms. Plummer got here at about 6:45 and I failed to tell her she was the third public hearing we have. And so I think I predicted I would text her about 8:30 and I text her about 10 minutes
You
ago.
having as much fun as we are?
What's that?
You having as much
She was
fun
able
as we
to
are?
go out of here for a little bit and come on back. So we appreciate that.
That.
Lisa N. Plummer, 125 Fursville Road, Lexington, Virginia, has made an application for a special exception permit for the construction of an accessory structure in Zone AE hatched, referred to as the floodway, in the special flood hazard area. The property is located on the south side of Fursville Road, Route 631, approximately 0.23 miles west of the intersection of North Lee Highway, Route 11, of course, and Fursville Road. Again, 631. The property is owned by Lisa N. Plummer with the above address and is further identified as tax map number 61A1-4-7A. The property is located in the general residential zoning district and within the flood hazard overlay district, FH1, per section 608.11-2, number 1 of the regulations. Accessory structures accessory to residential uses in the Zone AE hatched, floodway of the special flood hazard area is a use by special exception in the FH1 overlay district, or I apologize, it's actually the floodway district. With that being said, in the agenda item you have, we included section 608 and the pertinent sections of that. Staff has drafted some conditions that could be utilized with a recommendation of approval. They include, number one, the addition of the existing accessory structure shall not exceed 100 square feet. Number two, when storm warnings are issued, all hazardous materials / chemicals, i.e. fuels, oils, pesticides, shall be removed and relocated outside the floodway. And number three, approval contingent upon Rockbridge County Building Department approval. And so I will add to that, there is an existing accessory structure there, and it's probably been about a year or more that Miss Plummer came to us with this proposal, if you will. We identified that I believe a portion of the existing structures in the floodway, but all of the proposed expansion is in the floodway. Therefore, we informed her of the need for a special exception permit. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Ms. Plummer just to review any additional details she cares to share and answer any questions the Planning Commission may have.
Not sure I have much to add because we kind of printed everything up, but anybody has any questions?
What are your current uses of this shed? Because it looks somewhat, I don't know. Is it abandoned? Are you using it to store gas? I don't know.
We store our gardening stuff in it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's it was an old outhouse, and part of it sits on block where there was the old containment, and our lawnmower, our weed eater, and we've got some stuff that we haven't done anything with yet. And I've got some old windows, which kind of is what prompted the garden shed, kind of potting shed.
Yeah, it doesn't look too like it stores too much. So I
No,
get
it
it.
doesn't. It's you have to lift everything up to get the other end.
The concept drawing, are you're not knocking that down, you're
No.
adding on to it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so there's a picture of what it originally looked like. And what prompted this was we had some leftover siding that we had milled for our house when we were done. And I decided that we were going to just put it up on there. And then we realized how small it was. Plus, my husband likes to garden. You know, he likes to get his seeds going and stuff. And so I just thought with the old windows, I thought it'd look pretty neat. It would give us a little bit more room. One side of it will then become an entryway that we're using for storage. The side that has the lawnmower and the weed whacker in it, that would stay the same. There is a little bit of fuel that's kept in there, you know, just enough. Our lawnmower is the only thing that's gas, I think. And that's kind of it. That's how it got started. So I've run out of the siding now, and so it's not complete because we have to go have more milled. So I want to wait before we do that until we decide whether we're gonna.
Are you all doing the
Extend or
work
not.
yourself, or are you gonna hire someone to do it?
This is one of my projects, so I like to do stuff, and I'm the one who did the other. My husband gets out there and helps me when he has to. But I don't think we're gonna hire anyone to do this. It's a pretty small little project.
Okay, any questions for Lisa, gentlemen?
Sure. Yeah. And if I may add just briefly to my presentation, pulled up the property. This, of course, identified as 125 First Mill Road. To zoom out a little bit, we have the Maury River here, of course. The hatched area, you can see the hatched area and the yellow hatching in this area. That's considered the floodway, zone AE hatched floodway. Then you have the purple area on this. That's the zone AE unhatched. That is not the floodway. And then the brown on the map is the X500, the 500-year floodplain. There's no zoning restrictions nor building restrictions that I'm aware of. For sure, not zoning, and I'm very confident there's no building restrictions on the X500. With that being said, if you zoom down a little bit, it's pretty hard to see, but this is the existing building here. So you can see a portion of it per mapping, and there could be some shifting here with the aerial photo, I should say, but a portion of it's in the floodway and a portion of it is in the non-floodway. With that being said, very confident that the proposed addition obviously is in 100% in the floodway.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Given Chris's comments, any comments, gentlemen? Okay. At this time, we'll open the public hearing.
There's no one signed up to speak, but we'll recognize anyone at this time while I check the online. If anyone is present online that would like to speak, please utilize the raise your hand button. Not seeing any, I will turn the floor back over to the chair.
Are there any objections to closing the public hearing, or would the commission like to continue the public hearing to the next planning commission meeting, June 11th, 2025? I'm not hearing any objections. With no further public comments, we'll close the public hearing. And one more discussion, gentlemen.
Question on the photos that were provided. Looks like the second photo is the renovation to the existing structure. It's got the windows and shows like looks like it's metal, a combination metal and wood fence. And then the last photo looks like it's a new privacy wood fence. Is that what currently is there? I would think you'd be more concerned about this is the river down here, right?
I will pull that up on here so we're all on the same page.
This is my stuff I printed, so it's not the same as yours.
Okay.
Going through this written description, this is a plat of the property. This is a futuristic concept plan, if you will. This is the side, to be clear. This is the existing portion here, existing. This is the proposed new. It's slightly under 100 square feet, but I did take the liberty, if you will, to round up. This is the front of the building. This was the existing original building. This is how it is proposed now. And then I think what you're seeing, are you seeing these here?
With the fence down.
Fence
to the left.
below it.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, yep, I'm sorry, yes.
That's a metal fence. It's along the river.
Okay. Yeah, just
We have part of it is privacy,
Mhm.
and we did the metal along the river.
okay.
Yeah, I have 2 dogs, so.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
All right. No comments. Okay. The public hearing is closed. Like I said, no additional discussion.
I make a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors that the special exception permit for the construction of an accessory structure in Zone AE hatched floodway in the special flood hazard area be approved with the following conditions. Number one, the proposed addition to the existing accessory structure shall not exceed 100 square feet. Number two, when storm warnings are issued, all hazardous materials / chemicals, i.e. fuels, oils, pesticides, shall be removed and relocated outside of the floodway. Number three, approval contingent upon Rockbridge County Building Department approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Bob Kramer, seconded by David Whitmore. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? There are no nays. The vote is unanimous. So that concludes our schedule. Chris, unless you have anything else?
I do not. We're of course still plugging away on the and anticipate we have a relatively light agenda next month, and so we're anticipating this ordinance to be back on there, and then we will be chatting with the respective chairs of the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors about the proposed zoning text amendments associated with the previous use this evening.
Can we do something now? I mean, you had said to me that, there was 2 options in terms of we could direct staff to come up with a recommendation. in
Yeah,
terms of-
I think you could certainly direct staff to put it on the agenda for discussion.
Well, I mean, I'm looking for something, right now, you propose two different ways to approach that.
Yes, and we're talking about, of course, we're chatting about the country club and the special event venue associated with the country club. So the
Right,
two
so-
options we have, and to be clear, it's my understanding that the zoning text amendments can be initiated by a motion of the planning commission or a resolution with a statement of intent by the board of supervisors. It's more common that the planning commission makes the motion to essentially direct staff to place it on the agenda. And that could be done, that would, well, in fact, that doesn't even have to be, the motion would be taking it to public hearing, actually. You could, how we normally do this is the person requesting this gives us some overview of it. I don't think that's needed at this case. But with that being said, we would first put it on the next month's meeting as a discussion purpose. And then you could, based on that discussion, instruct staff to take it to a public hearing.
I mean,
And then, I apologize, I got sidetracked. The two options moving forward would be making a special use, a special event venue, a standalone use in the residential zoning district. That would be somewhat awkward. There are very few large parcels in Rockbridge County in a residential zoning district.
To me, I'd like to see the words before we have the discussion, that some recommended words from.
That would be included in an agenda package for the discussion.
Okay, and the possibility.
We don't have any this evening.
And no, I know that, but I'm saying that we'd get that before. I guess you said make a motion to direct staff. I'm wondering, should we make that motion now?
It would really be a motion, take a motion to take it to public hearing.
Yeah, I think.
A motion to take it to public hearing.
Yes.
So you probably want to see the language.
Yeah, I would like to see the language, and I'd like to consider a third option or a fourth option even. Other those two.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there are.
I don't know. That's why I'm.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a third or fourth option.
Yeah,
I mean, those are the two options.
Could create a new category that covers.
Well, I think there's been from staff point of view, we've had a lot of internal discussions on how best to approach this because of the issue that popped up. So that I think the internal discussion has moved quite along to the point where they think we believe that these are the two options that are most feasible. I mean, we can do whatever. I mean, you all could propose whatever you want with changing to the land development regulations or zoning rules. But I think the issue that's before us here is currently the country club is able to hold special events because it had held them prior to the adoption of the zoning rules. And now when they're coming in and seeking a special exception, once they tear down the buildings where they're doing this, they need to be granted the special exception to operate as a country club. And our current definition does not allow for these events.
Right.
And so the options that Chris has come up with, which I agree with him on them, are either to add to the residential district the special event, special exception, or to change the definition.
I'm trying to figure out what the path forward is from here to get to there, because I think that's important to, I'll say, their investors in terms of the overall project, to know that that's been resolved.
And then that's an issue that we actually met with some of them actually today, and they're quite aware of the issue and they're aware of these potential options. And I think from their side, I think they feel pretty comfortable for the direction that we're going. And even though we're not driven by their side, but obviously we are looking for, we believe it's acceptable to do one of the two things that Chris proposes. So I would say that on this, I'm not the applicants in the country club in the area have not raised a concern about that. They're just glad to see that we're making progress in resolving it. And we did explain to them how that would originate, that the planning commission could direct us to set a public hearing for the purpose of doing this, which you bring it for the board of supervisors, or the board of supervisors, my understanding, could originate direct the planning commission to consider the zoning text amendment.
Which way resolves it faster?
They're about exactly the same. I think it'd be faster for you guys to do it first instead of going to the board of supervisors and coming back in. Is it, am I saying that correct?
Yeah, and I will note, we always, staff is in constant communication with the member of the board of supervisors. You do see in other localities, which thankfully it does not happen here. Can't recall it's actually happened here, of a very large zoning text amendment or something that goes through, and then the planning commission spends, not on this, well, spends months at a time, and it goes to the board of supervisors, and it's, unanimously denied. And so that's certainly not our goal. You may recall in January or February this year, we were talking about some zoning text amendments. And I think it was Mr. Sabrizi that said, what other ones would we like to deal with not in a particular order, but just so happens it was the definition of special events. So I think as staff, I think we all agree that there could be some improvements to the definition of special events as well.
And that takes a public hearing, correct?
That does, yes, sir. Yeah.
Two public hearings, or could the board of supervisors do it without us?
No, the board of supervisors.
No, it would be sent to you.
I'm just trying to think of what the steps would be and how we would best do that.
And maybe to ameliorate any concerns you might have about the golf course investors and others there. As my understanding, I think I talked to Chris about this before, make sure I'm right about it, but my understanding is that they can continue to hold these special events in their existing structures until those are torn down. They cannot do it in a new built structures because that would have to be under definition. So
I don't want them tearing down a building that.
Well, no, I think in this current.
I know that I'm.
So no, the time frame that they're dealing with is not as big of a time pressure as saying it has to be done right away, because it's only going to be applicable to the new buildings of holding special events, new builds, or the new area, as long as they fit under the exception that they fit under now to be allowed to do that. As long as you have the buildings there, like they can continue to operate until they tear down the golf course. They can still go play golf on it. They have no requirement to come in demand to be treated as to have a golf course. So I don't think that, at least from our discussions with them, it doesn't seem that they're that concerned about getting this done immediately, though we are proceeding on it in a fairly quick manner. So then I don't think they're worried.
I mean, I think schedule is important. It's important to me.
Oh, that's understandable. Yes.
We're also cognitive of the scheduling as well.
And I think that's a disappointment. It's a personal, I think, a disappointment to them right now that this is not resolved, or won't be resolved at the next.
Well, but I'm not too, just speaking from my opinion on this, my legal view on this is there's no change in the status quo until they go in there and tear down the buildings where they're having this. I mean, they can do the exact same thing today. They can do the exact same thing after this special exception is approved by the board of supervisors. They can do right now, and until they actually take these steps.
So what you're saying is they have a lot of time to get this done.
There's not a pressure in saying that we have a wedding that we want to be doing, and we're gonna build a new pavilion and it'll be ready in 3 months. We want to put a wedding in there. That's not the situation.
Yeah, in the event they do that, that would be an issue.
That would be an issue.
Once a new building's erected, that's an issue.
Yeah, they understand
with the completion date and them not opening it, they're not, until they actually say we're open. That's only when that's 2027. That's the issue when the new structure.
Well, I mean, if they go out and tomorrow and rip, after the special exception is done, they go the next day and rip down all the buildings they have, then they can't.
It's done.
Yeah, they can't do it. So that's part somewhat under their control as to when how they phase things. But but my understanding, Chris, and I think maybe from our discussion, I don't know if you agree to, but it seems like they're happy that we're proceeding with this and as quickly as possible, but they don't feel it's a rush, that they're expecting something has to be done right away.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that summary. I do agree with that summary.
My understanding was it was just the pavilion that this applied to. I mean, the new building that would be, I guess, have a restaurant in it and a meeting hall or whatever. They could still do that under their current, if they get approved under that special exception, they could have member parties.
So what has happened is the determination,
like a wedding, hosting a wedding, having an outside band come in and do a concert for members in public.
It would be the special event, depending on, and that's essentially the nature of the amending the special exception permit itself. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, the new building, they could continue to have a restaurant and host gatherings for members and guests. Correct?
Yes.
Based on the conditions that you recommended today, we have
yes.
some that. Yeah.
So it-
My discussion of they don't want to build a new facility for that purpose. They want to build a new facility that they can rent out and make money.
No, absolutely. That was well detailed at the last at the last meeting.
Chris is on it. So way to go, Chris. Anything else for the good of the order?
Not that I have.
Would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.